Good afternoon, everyone, members of the CA fraternity and my fellow guest. Welcome to Tally Prime Knowledge Session. Today, we have with us an eminent speaker from WIRC, CA Sonal Jain. And today, we are going to talk about the overview on bonded manufacturing warehouse schemes and what are the various perspectives that a CA or a chartered accountant should have for his clients who are especially into the exports and the import side of the business. So, a bit about our speaker today, who is a Tally evangelist, CA Sonal Jain, and also a partner at Mistry and Shah LLP. So, Sonal ma'am heads the indirect taxation for the firm, along with specializations in customs and FTP. She has expertise in various schemes of customs like advance authorization, SEIS, MEIS, bonded warehouse, AEO certifications, etc. Sonal ji is also the chairman of Women Empowerment Committee of Chartered Accountants Association Ahmedabad. She has secured 24th rank in CA finals and also been awarded Young Achievers Award in CA Women's Achievers Award 2018. She has been awarded gold medal for the subject of financial reporting in CA final examinations by Ahmedabad Chartered Accountants Association. She is an active speaker on topics related to GST, Tally. Somebody needs to go on mute. So yes, thank you for that. She is an active speaker on various forums pertaining to GST, Tally and systems implementation, FTP and customs, and have taken more than 100 sessions. She is a decorated speaker on various chartered accountant and influencer forums on both functional and non-functional sides, as well as technical sides pertaining to Tally and other topics pertaining to chartered accountants. Having said that, with not so small but a very powerful introduction, let me now request Sonal ji to take over and share with us her insights into the topic.
Thank you, Janak ji, for the warm introduction. And now, without taking much time, let's go to the subject. So, today's topic is basically what we mean by bonded manufacturing warehouse scheme. So, basically, the objective of taking this topic on Tally platform is that this scheme has been recently introduced, and government want to give the incentives and the benefits to the importers as well as exporters. So this scheme is basically helpful for those associates who are in the business of imports and exports. So currently in the era of globalization, everyone is having some or other form of import and they are having some or other form of exports. So my objective in today's session is that how you yourself or you can get the benefits to your clients. Like many of us are from the CA fraternity wherein we do consultancy for a client. So herein, if any of your client is in business of import exports, this can be a great value addition to our client and how he can do his business structuring so as to take advantage of this scheme. So I have divided my session into 9 parts. In the initial part, I would be taking the brief introduction about the scheme. Therein, we will be understanding all the different form of warehouses. Then after, who is eligible? See, because if I am telling that we can give benefit to our clients, we need to first analyze that which SSC is eligible for this scheme. Then we'll understand that why we should go for this scheme, because currently there are various other schemes also for exports and importers. So what is the add-on advantage or what competitive advantage this scheme can give to our business entrepreneurs? So we'll compare the advantage of the scheme, then how we can apply for the scheme. Is the process simpler? What are the terms and conditions to be followed to be part of the scheme? Then after we'll have a comparison of this scheme with other scheme and understanding that in which of the criteria this scheme is not workable, and then after at the end we'll conclude that in the specific form of business it is must that assessee should go in this scheme. So we'll be taking various examples and various situations of business wherein we can opt for this scheme. So now talking about the introduction of the scheme, first of all, it is very much very much needed that why the scheme has been used by government in a recent year. The scheme came in the year 2019 and is been operational since 2020. The objective of the scheme is to promote the Make in India initiative of India, because they want every manufacture to be done in India. The another objective is to do A's of business in India, to promote FDI and to make India a global hub of business. The another reason why this scheme is being promoted is that currently in World Trade Organization, many of the Indian incentives are under dispute, and it is possible that this incentive will be done away. Like WTO is challenging the various incentive schemes of government. So it is far possible that soon SEZ, EOU and EPCG benefit will go away. So remove that thing, to eliminate that thing, government has came up with this scheme, because once the case is concluded at WTO and if the benefits of EPCG, SEZ or EOU are taken away, it is needed that some other benefit has been provided to the assessee. So this is also one of the reasons why this scheme is being launched. This scheme is again interesting when we compare with the competitive advantage which this scheme can give to our business assessees. So friends, in a very nutshell, in one slide, if I want to explain you the benefit of the scheme, then this is the slide which shows the complete benefit of the scheme. In a very nutshell, yes, a benefit, but this is one of the major benefit. So what are the benefits? Suppose I am a manufacturer and I am importing goods. In that case, generally when we import any goods, we pay basic custom duty and IGST. And then after we do manufacturing activity and we sell those goods either outside India or we sell it domestically in India. Under this scheme, what happens? If you are registered yourself as a bonded manufacturing warehouse, you don't need to pay basic custom duty and IGST on imports. मतलब मैंने कुछ भी import किया उस पे मेरे को basic custom duty and IGST नहीं pay करना है. That gets deferred. Now question comes, up to what time it gets deferred? So friends, it gets deferred up to the time when you clear the finished goods prepared from that raw material. So at the time of clearance, I need to pay that basic custom duty and IGST, and that too without interest. So take a situation wherein you are importing your raw material today, say in the month of Feb, and now you know that your finished goods process will take a time of 8 months, 9 months. So generally what happens, we pay basic custom duty and IGST on the day of import. But under the scheme, you have to pay only when after 9 months you will be selling those finished goods in Indian market. So you save the interest component on basic custom duty and IGST for a period of 9 months. Secondly, if you want to export those goods, then that basic custom duty and IGST gets completely waived off. No need to pay. So the scheme is basically, if you are exporters, you don't need to pay basic custom duty and IGST. Never. You don't need to pay at all. And if you are selling in Indian market, you need to pay at the time of clearance. So you get a huge interest benefit. Now take a situation of capital goods. Same way, suppose I am importing capital goods and I am using that capital good for manufacturing my finished goods. Then in this case also, for capital goods, I don't need to pay basic custom duty and IGST. And the best part for capital goods is that on capital goods, we don't need to pay basic custom duty and IGST even when we are selling the finished goods in domestic market. So question comes, when we need to pay the basic custom duty and IGST on capital goods? Only when we are selling those capital goods in Indian market. So assume a scenario, I am importing a 1 crore of capital goods. So take a normal scenario. In a normal case, we need to pay 10% basic custom duty and 18% IGST on that import capital goods. So it is around 28 lakhs. So my 28 lakhs rupees get blocked in basic custom duty and IGST. Now suppose, assume that I am a bonded manufacturing warehouse. Then in that case, I don't need to pay that 28 lakhs. Now question comes, when I need to pay those 28 lakhs? I need to pay those 28 lakhs only when I am selling those capital goods to Indian market. So generally business entrepreneur don't sell their capital goods on an often basis. They sell once their entire manufacturing process is done with. So this scheme is a huge advantage to the assessee who is having a huge import of capital goods. Understanding the different form of warehouse. So friends, in a technical terms, we need to understand that from where the scheme is flowing. So this scheme is basically flowing from the Custom Acts, wherein there are three types of warehouse. One is public warehouse, private warehouse, and special warehouse. The scheme is nothing but an extension of the private warehouse concept. And this scheme is applicable for both type of goods, for normal goods and the special warehouse goods. There are certain hazardous goods and notified for the concept of special warehouse. Wherein everything is similar only, the scheme is applicable, but in that the terms are little strict. Whereas for all other normal product, there is a concept of bonded manufacturing warehouse. Now question comes, who can apply for the scheme? A custom bonded warehouse is a licensed premises wherein. So this scheme is basically applicable to all. Anyone can apply who is in business of manufacturing or other operations. That means मैं अगर manufacturing कर रही हूँ, then I can go for this scheme. And if I'm not doing manufacturing, but I'm doing some other operations, then also scheme is applicable. Now, what does it mean by other operation? So basically, the scheme benefits various manufacturer and global online retailers having e-commerce business which invests for operations such as packaging, labeling, and relabeling. So other operation basically includes packaging, labeling, and relabeling. So basically speaking, for other operations, it is nothing but it is a concept of deemed manufacturing. So even if you do packing, you do relabeling, repacking, then also it is a concept of deemed manufacturing and you are eligible for the bonded manufacturing warehouse scheme. So to conclude, it is very simple. This scheme is eligible for all who are in the business of manufacturing or who are in the business of other operation. That means deemed manufacturing. So now to conclude it in a very simple terms, this scheme is eligible. So there is one question, what if raw material is written without using in manufacturing? If the raw material is written without using manufacturing, my question is from where this raw material is bought? It is imported or it is bought locally?
Imported, ma'am. Ankit sir has written.
So if it is imported, then if it is written back, there is no question of paying the duty. Only if you are using that raw material and you are clearing that finished goods, then only you need to pay duty. As long as it is imported and it is written back, it is always assumed that the transaction is done outside India. So this is something like you have notified this premise outside India. And if you are importing raw material at this premises and you are processing it and making it finished goods, the moment when you are clearing that finished goods from the bonded manufacturing warehouse, at that time you need to pay duty. I hope Ankit ji has got his answer.
Yes, Ankit ji, if you can confirm once you are. Yeah, Sonal ma'am, please continue. Yes, confirm.
Okay, so now if I give an example, see this is a brief comparison and again I am giving a highlight on the duty part only. So friends, take an example of a business entrepreneur who needs around 10 months to make that finished goods. So he is importing a raw material say of 1 crore. Generally what happens, the custom department don't clear your goods as long as you are not paying the basic custom duty and IGST at that point. So what happens, say on the amount imported raw material of 1 crore, there is a custom duty of 10% and social welfare charge of 1% and IGST of 18%. So practically on a 1 crore of raw material, he need to pay 11 lakh as a basic custom duty and 18 lakh as a IGST. I'm giving a rough figure. So it is approximately 20 lakhs of the duty which he need to pay at the time of import. Now assume a scenario, if you are converting yourself in a bonded manufacturing warehouse, you don't need to pay that 28 lakhs on day one. This 28 lakhs you will be paying at the 11th month. And assume you are not sure that your finished goods have demand in Indian market. So in this scheme, the best part is that you can keep your finished goods in the warehouse for unlimited time period. मान लो मेरा 2 साल के बाद finished goods का order आ रहा है, then I can keep those finished goods till 2 years in my warehouse, and I need to pay basic custom duty and IGST only after the finished goods are cleared. That means after 2 years. So practically you save the interest cost of on 28 lakhs for 2 years. That is roughly around 5 lakhs. And same thing is applicable for capital goods. And the capital goods, the add-on advantage is that in the case of capital goods, you don't need to pay duty on clearing of those finished goods. So take a scenario, my machine has a tenure of 20 years. So I'll be using that machine for 20 years. So in a period of 20 years, if I'm selling any finished goods prepared from that capital goods, I don't need to pay any duty on those capital goods. I need to pay that duty saved on capital goods only when I'm selling those capital goods in India. So after 20 years, if you're not selling those capital goods, there is no issue. You simply save entire duty on the capital goods. I've seen the industries wherein there's an import of 100 crores of machineries from outside India. So say there is a value of 100 crore, there is roughly a duty amount of 28 crore. So in this scheme, you don't need to pay that 28 crore on day one. This 28 crore is payable only and only if you are selling those capital goods. And in case you are not required to sell those capital goods, you don't need to pay any duty. And if you are exporting those capital goods, duty gets completely saved. Same is the scenario for the raw material. If the finished goods are exported, no need to pay duty on raw material. And this scheme is again very much helpful for the assessors who are in the business of e-commerce, wherein they do a work of repacking, relabeling, and wherein they are not sure that when their finished goods will be sold in the market. Like we know Flipkart, Amazon, they have huge stocks of the finished goods, and they do repacking, relabeling and all that. So suppose they are holding a stock of 10 crores. In a normal course, they need to pay duty on entire 10 crore. But in this case, they need to pay duty only on the value of goods which is actually sold in domestic market. And there is no interest component. Like even after 5 years, my finished goods are sold, I need to pay basic custom duty and IGST on the raw material used in those finished goods at the end of 5 years. The interest is payable only and only when raw material imported are cleared as such. That means if I am using that raw material in the manufacturing process, no issue. But if I am doing trading of raw material, like जैसे raw material लाया वैसा का वैसा Indian market में sell कर दिया, then in that case you get a period of only of 90 days, and after 90 days interest is payable. So only and only when the imported items are cleared as such, there is an interest payable after 90 days. In other scenarios, all scenarios, no interest is payable for any number of days, any number of years. So I hope the biggest advantage must be cleared in everyone's mind. There is one question from Ankiji. Shall we have to take a separate registration for premises at GST and we have to demark? Ankiji, this question will be answered in the later part of session. Like I have covered this point in my session. So this now one concept is very clear. There is no implication of interest also. Interest implication applies only when goods are removed as such. When you are selling the raw material as such, when you are selling the capital goods as such, then only interest gets applicable after the period of 90 days. In other all scenario, interest is not at all applicable. Now other advantages of this scheme. Looking into the other advantage, the scheme has a single point of approval. We need to file only one form online and that too to the Commissioner of Customs. And there is no much manual work involved. Everything is online. So somewhere it is having a simpler process. Second, it has a common form. Like there is only one form and that too very simple layman sort of form. So we don't need to feel complicated long forms in this. It has a reduced cost of compliance. That means under this scheme, we don't need to pay any application fee. Generally, whenever we do registration of any registration, we need to pay some or other form of application fee. But under this scheme, we don't need to pay any application fee. So there is a reduced cost of compliance under the scheme. The other biggest advantage of this scheme is that there is no bar on period of warehousing. That means any goods, any capital goods or any raw material imported under this scheme, that raw material or the capital goods can be stored in the warehouse for unlimited time period. There is no concept that you can store the imported raw material or capital goods only for say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You can keep it in your warehouse with the duty-free benefit for unlimited time period. And the last advantage is again the biggest advantage. It does not have any geographical restriction. See, generally what happens to avail the benefit of SEZ or the EOU, many times we need to relocate our business entities to that premises. For SEZ, we need to compulsory move to that SEZ jurisdiction. But here under this scheme, this has no geographical restriction. You can convert your existing premises into bonded manufacturing warehouse. So to cut short, it has a reduced cost of compliance. There is no application fee. There is no period on warehousing, no bar on period of warehousing, and there is no geographical restriction. I would request the participants that if you have any question, you can ask them in between also. Then after, it has an easy compliance because you can maintain all the records. And what if raw material is commonly used for domestic and export and 1-to-1 correlation is not possible, but export to domestic is approximately 50%. For that, you have to take the benefit based on the SIAN norms, like standard input output norms. So as much as raw material which is used in your exports, you get the benefit of complete duty waiver. Okay. So easy compliance, then after seamless warehouse to warehouse transfer. So under this scheme, you can transfer the goods from one warehouse to another warehouse, and that too without payment of duty. Then after, generally in all the export schemes, say it is EPCG or it is advanced authorization, there is some or other obligation of exports. But under this scheme, there is no obligation of exports. That means even if I have all sales in domestic market, I have zero exports, still I am eligible for the scheme. Now you will ask a question that if I am not doing any exports, why should I go in this scheme? So the answer to that is, suppose take a scenario wherein you have 100% domestic sales, but you need to import machinery. In that case, you can go for the scheme and you can save the duty amount on the imported machinery. Because on capital goods, as we saw earlier, the duty is payable only when we sell the capital goods. So take a scenario wherein you don't need you are not required to sell capital goods. This scheme is very much helpful because you straightway save the basic custom duty and IGST on those imported capital goods. Again, in this scheme, the other benefits goes parallelly. Like ऐसा नहीं है कि if I go to the scheme and I'm not able to take the benefits of GST refund or advance authorization like that. Along with this scheme also, I can go for the other benefits. So this scheme can be run parallelly. It's not needed to be compulsory that other benefits get waived off. Raw material if cleared as such in domestic market, then interest is there. But if after manufacturing finished goods is sold in, yes, after manufacturing if finished goods are sold in domestic market, there is no interest for any time period. Like आपने raw material से finished goods 2 साल बाद बना के भी इंडियन मार्केट में सेल किया तो भी वो रॉ मटेरियल पे जो ड्यूटी अमाउंट है वो पूरी सेव हो जाएगी. It is beneficial for all those who are in the business of importing. Waste or destroyed goods. The scheme is again beneficial when there is a huge wastage in the manufacturing process. Generally, we know that for any business, there is some or other waste generated during manufacturing process. So when the waste are occurring or on exporting of the resultant product from the bonded manufacturing warehouse, then on that waste, we don't need to pay duty. So generally what happened whenever we import raw material and we make a finished goods from that, whatever the waste is generated, we need to pay the duty on those waste generated. But in case you are exporting those finished goods, then you don't need to pay duty on those waste generated. So on a very normal terms, if I conclude the benefits, I ponder, I believe these 5 are the biggest benefits of the scheme. First is only when there is a removal as such, there is interest component. So in all cases, there is no interest involved. In case of domestic supplier also, when there are huge import of capital goods, this scheme can be evaluated and can be thought upon. The scheme is eligible for 100% domestic supplier too. 100% domestic supplier can save up to interest cost on working capital blockage in duties and taxes. So for the normal businessman, the scheme can be worked upon to save his working capital requirement and to save the interest component on the working capital. Again, the scheme has no application fee. So you can apply it without any cost. There is a very nominal cost for this scheme and there are no government charges involved for the application fee. So now I hope that now you all are clear with the advantage part of the scheme. There is one question. In export, we have to produce BRC as a proof of exports. If there any specific registered and importing authority clearance is self-declaration basis or not? For this part also, I have covered what conditions to be followed under this scheme for exports. In the later part of session, you will get the answer to this point. Janakji, I hope I'm audible to everyone, right?
Yes, Sonalji, you are very audible.
Okay. Just a moment. So now we have seen all the advantage part. Now we'll move towards how we apply for the scheme and what accounting system we should have for the scheme. So we have seen the benefit part, but now we need to see what are the terms and conditions to be followed to be part of the scheme. Now, how to apply for the scheme? So in my advantage part, I have covered one topic that applying for the scheme is a quite easier process. It is just a three-step process. The first step involved is the online application, which we need to do on the website. I have even kept the screenshot of the website in my next slide. So we need to apply it online in Annexure A, that is the online form. Then after we need to execute a triple duty bond. So as we are aware that they are giving us the benefit of the duty, we need to execute the triple duty bond. Now, how to calculate that triple duty? So basically, we need to forecast that how much tentative imports we'll be doing. We need to calculate the amount of duty on those imported goods that we'll be saving, and we need to multiply that amount with 3 times. And we need to execute a bond. Then after, the commissioner of customs verify our premises physically, and once they are convinced, they issue us the license of bonded manufacturing. Now, question comes that whenever we are executing a bond, there is a concept of bank guarantee. So, question comes that is it required to give a bank guarantee in this also? So, if in a normal course, if bank guarantee is required to be given, the ultimate benefit of this scheme goes away because this scheme is evaluated for saving working capital. And if I need to give a bank guarantee, the objective doesn't get suffice. So, government has given exemption of giving security deposits under the scheme. So, my question is security deposit mandatory for execution of bond under bonded manufacturing warehouse scheme? The answer is there is one circular which provides exemption for requirement of security deposits under this. So, this is a great advantage because you need to simply execute a bond and you don't need to give any security deposits. Thereby, this will save again your working capital. So, if I conclude the application process, it is simple. Just fill the Annexure A online, attach all the relevant documents. It is all online attachment. You have to scan all the documents and attach it online. Then after, you need to execute a triple duty bond, and Commissioner of Customs comes to the premises and verifies same. Once he is convinced, he will issue the license. So this is the name of the website, the URL investindia.gov.in. So you can go to this URL and you have to click on the bonded manufacturing. Once you click on the bonded manufacturing, you can see the entire portal of bonded manufacturing. On this portal, you have to simply enroll it and fill the application. So I have kept the screenshot of the website. It looks like this. And there is one tab called new application. You can even retrieve your old application. So it's not necessary to fill the entire form at a one stroke. Like if you have filled it today, it gets saved. You have to retrieve it and you can again submit it tomorrow. Then after, once you click on new application, you will find this type of form which has 5 tabs. So basically, Annexure A need you to fill this 5 details online for getting registration done. So the name of the form is application for license for private bonded warehouse and permission for manufacturing and other operation. So one thing is very clear, to be part of this scheme, we need to be private bonded manufacturing warehouse and we need to take a permission for manufacturing and other operation. So this application A, Annexure A, is a common form for both work. It is a single form for both, for getting ourselves as a private warehouse and for permission for manufacturing and other operation. So let's see what are the 5 parts of detail which this form needs. One is the basic business details. The second is the detail of the proposed premises, like proposed facility, what are the, where it is located. We need to give the roadmap of that premises. We need to give the ground plan of that premises, because they will be notifying that premises as bonded manufacturing warehouse. We need to give the applicant detail. We need to give the reviewer detail, and we need to submit it. Once you submit it, you need to attach all these documents. So let's understand the list of documents which are to be attached online. First is application for license, that is form manager A itself. NOC for the from the owner, like if it is not the own premises, we need to take a NOC from the owner. Bank solvency certificate, certificate of incorporation, general continuity bond. Like it should not be like that कि आज बना दी कल close कर दी. We need to have a general continuity bond. Insurance, appointment letter of warehouse keeper. We need to designate someone as our warehouse keeper, and we need to appoint him. So an appointment letter for same has to be issued. Site plan and copy of the company. Undertakings, like there are various undertaking online available. List of all directors, indemnity bond, income tax return and balance sheet, work experience work experience certificate of the warehouse keeper. Like we need to give the experience certificate of the warehouse keeper, lease deed, Aadhaar card, ID proof of director. Then board resolution, firefighting installations, memorandum and article, and IC. This scheme requires us to have all fire safety measures, because they don't want that anyone indulge in the fraud under the scheme, or there is a damage of those goods which are imported duty free. So government is basically like, if you are importing anything duty free, you need to have a onus that those goods are protected. So firefighting installation is very much needed. Insurance copy of that premises, memorandum article, and a warehouse keeper should be educated and should be appointed. A proper appointment letter of warehouse keeper should be there, along with his experience certificate. So we have gone through the application process. Again, I am just having a quick recall on the application process. It's very simple. Simply fill the annexure A, execute the third bond in annexure C. Commissioner of Customs grant the permission once he was a Commissioner of Customs grant the permission once you do physical verification of the premises. Now question comes that is security deposit needed for the bonded manufacturing warehouse? Then answer is no. Security deposit is not needed for bonded manufacturing warehouse, because there is one exemption in context to same. We have gone through the portal wherein we can do registration under the scheme. The portal name is Invest India portal, investindia.gov.in. In my presentation, I have kept the URL of same. We can anytime walk through that URL. The online application has a 5 tab to be filled. Simple, it has a main focus on the proposed premises, because they want to notify that premises is a bonded manufacturing warehouse. All the applicant details and all the attachments. Attachment majorly include NOC from the owner, application from license, details of director, Aadhaar, ID proofs, work experience, balance sheet, P&L, indemnity bond, IC, MOE, AOA. And safety is the biggest measure for in context to all fire, air, safety in context to all. Now, coming to the other part, that what are the procedural and the operational compliance in context to manufacturing and other operation. So once you are registered yourself as a bonded manufacturing warehouse, what are the procedures and compliance which we need to follow? There is one question from Ankitji that we have already imported capital goods now very often. We require some part of said machinery to be replaced. Are those allowed duty free? First, if you have already imported that capital goods, then why you want to go for this bonded manufacturing warehouse? Like you have to take the bonded manufacturing warehouse before importing. So Ankitji, can you elaborate your query?
Ankitji, if you can go on unmute, you will be able to ask the question.
Sonalji, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am able to hear you.
My query is that we have imported capital goods. It's a big amount of capex, but the parts are also substantially valued.
Okay. So now you're thinking to save duty on that parts and proposing to go for this scheme, right?
Yes, yes.
So that you can do, like if you feel that parts are having good value, and in future if you are even forecasting to exports, like even if you don't export, then also you will be straightway saving the basic custom duty and IGST.
Yeah,
And
that parts are also going to be capex, and we are in domestic sales.
so you can anyway go for this scheme, like that will be a advantage for you because you'll be straightway saving IGST and basic custom duty on those parts. And after the tenure of say 10 years, you don't sell those parts, simply keep in the books only now. Only when you are selling those capital goods, you need to pay duty again. But if you are not selling, you don't need to, you don't need to pay duty at any time.
And my further query is that while importing such goods and while applying for this scheme, we have to mention all HSN and all the proposed list of my
Yes,
capex.
we need to give a tentative complete idea that I will be doing this thing, and in future, like it is a business. So after 2 years, I feel to do some more business, or I feel to import new product. You can again give additional information to custom that now my sign has changed, or now I will be including this raw material also as a part of my import. So that is always a two-way process. You can anytime communicate to department that at the time of incorporation, I had this forecast. Now it has been changed. So you are again updating that.
So CHA will help me in this whole process.
Yes, CHA will help, and for this registering yourself as a bonded manufacturing warehouse, you yourself can do. If you want any help, I can also help you to get you registered under this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So now, as long as we have seen the application part and we have seen the advantage part, now comes what the regulation says, that what are the terms and conditions to be followed. So this is now the crucial part. Like अगर हमने सोच लिया है कि हमें बनाना है bonded manufacturing warehouse, so now we need to understand that what are the compliance to be followed. We need to maintain a complete accounts of removal and receipt of goods. So here I would say that your tally, your accounting system will play a very crucial role, because as government is giving putting a trust on you, like government आप पे blindly rely कर रही है कि आप जो भी import करोगे इसी warehouse में रखोगे, you will not dump it illegally anywhere, and you will be using only in manufacturing. Then government want us to maintain complete record of each imported item. So here you need to follow proper inventory accounts which Tally is having, wherein you have to maintain each godown. So you need to suggest to your client that please maintain proper accounts with the godown wise, with the name wise, with the product HSN wise, wherein you need to track entire movement of each imported goods. So you can even use cost tracking, wherein you can see that this imported goods has been sent for the job work. It is again coming back. It is now used in the finished goods and it is being removed. So the entire scheme says that we trust on the assessee, but we want assessee to maintain entire accounts, and entire records is to be maintained digitally as well as manually. So when it is a case of digitally and it is a mid-size entity, I would suggest we can give a proper training to our clients wherein we can teach them how to maintain inventory in the Tally. Janakji, it is possible, right?
Yes, yes, yes. In
Complete
fact, Tally is one of the best tools for maintaining accounting and
inventory
inventory
management in
both.
Tally.
Yes, yes. Maybe if you'd like to
Right.
elaborate once the session is done, how can we go about it?
Right. So now the one of the term is to maintain the accounts. The second is to execute the bond, and the third part is we need to inform to the government what is our inform to the custom authority and what is our standard input output norms. So basically, standard input output norms is nothing but bill of material, which concept is already there in Tally. Like whenever we are making any finished goods and we are passing a manufacturing journal in Tally, we used to configure the bill of material in finished goods. So bill of material is the ratio of raw material which is used in the finished goods. Say X unit of finished goods required, A unit of raw material, B unit of raw material, C unit of raw material. So this ratio we need to tell to government so that they can calculate that whatever imported raw material are used in this much portion in the finished goods, and the balance raw material is lying in the customer's assesses warehouse. Whenever there is change in this standard input output norms, we need to update same to the custom authorities that there is some quality difference in my product, or there is some technical change that due to which my standard input output norms has been changed. Then after, like one thing is very clear, maintaining accounts, informing the input output norms. The third criteria is that we need to appoint a proper warehouse keeper. So warehouse keeper is generally a person who is in charge of entire warehouse, and he is required to maintain all these accounts and entire warehouse management with him. So this person need to be experienced and need to be educated. The scheme even says his education qualification requirement. And this person should even have the digital signature, because all the documents on the government portal will be uploaded through his digital signature. This person should be all time available at the bonded manufacturing warehouse. So there is a great onus on that. If any assessee is thinking to have a bonded manufacturing warehouse, he should have a proper warehouse keeper who should be in charge of all the operation, and he should have a digital signature. Now comes how should be my premises. Like for all premises, normally any premises can be converted into bonded manufacturing warehouse, but there are certain criteria which a premises should have to convert itself as a bonded manufacturing warehouse. One of the criteria is that the licensee should have a proper signage. The signage should show that yes, it should be written that this premises is the custom bonded manufacturing warehouse. The facility should have a computer system of accounting for storage, receipt, operations, and removal of goods and such facility. So for accounting, you can anyway suggest Tally as a product. The facility should have a secure access of goods. So it should be a closed facility and should have a secure access of goods. Now question comes that what security facilities the premises should have. Then the facility should have a sufficient control access wherein all goods can be stored properly. There should be a proper door locking system, secured locks and windows. The facility should have a fire security audit certificate. So this is very much needed. Like if you are converting any premises under bonded manufacturing warehouse, you need to first have a fire security audit certificate, and that too be issued by a qualified independent agency. CCTV facility should be there in the premises, and the provision of security guards should be there, like 24-hour security guards should be there. So if I again narrate the in a very summary manner, if I narrate the requirement of regulation, the regulation requires the proper maintenance of accounts, execution of bonds, input output norms, having a warehouse keeper. Warehouse keeper should have a digital signature. There should be a proper signage system, computerized accounting system, secured storage of goods. There should be a fire security audit certificate, CCT should be there, and security guards 24-hour facility should be there. Apart from this, the other condition includes applicant need to get permission for one-to-one lock movement system, because now government is trusting you and it is telling you that you can have your. Yes, Ankit, you want written need to be filed on monthly basis. I will come to that part in the after 2-3 slide. That portion will come. Applicant need to get permission for one-time lock movement of goods, and you see basically one-time lock movement of goods is the facility given when government is trusting you. So government is telling that you yourself do the movement. Generally, whenever a custom authority gives such benefit, they tell that one of our office person will be there when stuffing of goods. But in this scheme, they are telling that we trust you and will not come to your premises. You can do self-stuffing. But for that, they want us to take the permission. So we need to apply for the permission for one-time lock for the movement of goods. We need to apply permission for the self-sealing of the container, and we need to inform we need to inform all input output norms to the government. Whenever there is change also we need to inform. No, because see, when you are exporting, you don't need to pay duty. Like for exports, this scheme is the biggest benefit, because in export you don't need to pay duty at all. Only if you're selling the goods in local market, then only you need to pay duty, and that too only on so much of raw material which are used in these goods. If the raw material are not used and it is still in the warehouse, no need to pay duty.
Sonal ji, Jain ji has raised hand. Can we take up his question?
Yes, we can take.
Jain ji, if you would like to ask, go on unmute and ask.
Yes, Jain sir. Good. You can tell your query.
Jain ji, we are not able to hear you. Okay, Sonal ma'am, I think we should proceed. If he might be troubleshooting something.
Okay, right.
Yes,
So-
Ankit ji, you want to ask something? Ankit Malani ji is also asking.
Yes, Sonal ji, I am audible.
Yes.
Yeah. सूरज जी, जैसे मैंने आज गुड्स इंपोर्ट किए रॉ मटेरियल, तो उस पे मेरा जो कस्टम ड्यूटी बना, मान लीजिए सपोज 10 लाख बना। अब ये मेरा ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम जो है फिनिश गुड्स बनके डोमेस्टिक में क्लियर होगा। तो ये क्या एक तरह से कोई कैश लेजर बनेगा जिसके अंदर मुझे ये पेड करना रहेगा मंथ ऑन मंथ बेसिस, या कैसे रहेगा?
मंथ ऑन मंथ बेसिस नहीं करना है, जब आप फिनिश गुड्स क्लियर करोगे ना, उस टाइम पे आपको पे करना है। तब आपको लिखना है कि ये फिनिश गुड्स के अंदर इतने रॉ मटेरियल यूज हुए हैं और उसकी इतनी ड्यूटी बनती है, तो जिस दिन आप क्लियर कर रहे हो उस दिन आप पे कर दो।
नहीं, बट वो फिनिश गुड्स कैसे है ना कि जैसे वो आएंगे तो वो फिनिश गुड्स डे टू डे क्लियर होंगे।
हाँ, तो एवरी डे यू नीड टू लाइक, इसमें कैसा है कि हर महीने की 10th डेट तक आपको एक रिटर्न भरना है. सो
Okay.
बाय डे यू नीड टू क्लियर योर डेट मंथ ड्यू. जैसे जीएसटी में आप 20 तारीख तक क्लियर करते हो, वैसे आप ऐसा हो तो टोटल बेसिस पे पे कर सकते
Okay, month on month basis मेरे
हो.
को
सेम लाइक कस्टम
डिस्चार्ज
में आप
करना है.
शिपिंग बिल फाइल करते हो तो यू गेट अ, हाँ राइट, you have to discharge the duty. It is simple, nothing, it is just a deferment. आप जैसे कस्टम में शिपिंग बिल क्लियर करते हो, आप ड्यूटी पे करते हो, तो गवर्नमेंट ने क्या बोला, आपको उस टाइम नहीं पे करनी है, आपको जब आप फिनिश गुड सेल करते हो तब पे कर दो. सो दे आर जस्ट गिविंग अस एडिशनल टाइम, एंड उसमें अगर आप एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हो तो कभी पे ही नहीं करना है, तो इट इज जीरो रेट, मतलब योर डिफरमेंट ऑल्सो गेट वेव्ड ऑफ एंड यू डोंट नीड टू
So that return part will
पे
be
एट ऑन.
taken by you in next slides, na?
But
See, Ankit ji and other all listeners, one thing I want to clarify that ये स्कीम बहुत इनिशियल स्टेज पे है, मतलब अभी भी बहुत कम लोगों ने रजिस्टर किया है, तो लुक्रेटिव बहुत है, गवर्नमेंट भी स्कीम को काफी मार्केट कर रही है, बट जो कस्टम अथॉरिटीज है वो लोग अभी भी ये स्कीम के लिए इतने अवेयर नहीं है. लाइक मेरे अभी 3 रजिस्ट्रेशन अंडर प्रोसेस में है. सो फॉर दैट whenever I'm following with the department, they said that ma'am ऐसे कैसे होता है. So first I need to get this scheme completely explained to them. पहले उनको समझाना पड़ रहा है कि भाई लॉ में ये बेनिफिट दिया हुआ है, आप डिनाई मत करो, अप्रूव करो. तो अभी टीचिंग ट्रबल फेस कर रहा है ये स्कीम, बट within 1 or 2 years there can be a good business from this scheme, because बहुत importers exporters है जिनको हम काफी वैल्यू एडिशन करवा सकती है स्कीम से.
Yes, this
hello,
will
hello,
be
madam.
beneficial to all importers who are even clearing domestic their goods.
Yes, to both way. Yes, someone is asking some question.
Yeah, currently we are importing some raw material, paying the custom duty and IGST. So normally we get a IGST refund payment through monthly basis. Okay, so if we go through this scheme, so ultimately my custom duty will be saved totally.
Yes. Completely, custom duty will be completely saved. Your costing will get reduced, and even your blockage will not be there for IGST. Like currently, you are paying and then you are getting refund. In this, you don't need to pay only.
Okay, and if I sell in domestic market, so my interest cost on the custom duty that will be saved.
Right. For
But
domestic,
but in export cases, are you sure my total custom duty will be the saving the cost?
it is 100% saving.
Because
100.
in current scenario we are importing and exporting, so that time my custom duty will be my cost currently.
Right, but that's why only I want to
It is
tell
a very much and bigger benefit if
So
custom duty cost is saved.
you should immediately go for this scheme. You will save completely basic custom duty. I'm 100% for sure.
Yeah, so if it is sure, it is
that.
very much.
Sir, this 100 benefits. I am taking this session for almost 7th time. Like जब ये स्कीम आई थी, मैंने फर्स्ट सेशन 2019 एंडिंग में लिया था.
Okay.
And many of my clients are in this business, so I'm very much sure that even basic custom duty gets saved.
Okay. Can I know your location? From which location you are operating your office?
I'm operating from Ahmedabad as well as Chennai.
Okay, fine. So okay, so after session you share your contacts and details, so we will contact you and then we'll proceed.
That you can get from Salalji. Okay, we
Yeah.
can share. Like I will drop in the chat box also.
Yeah, please. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
In fact, Sonalji, you can share the deck with me after the presentation with your coordinates. No, I will give it to all the participants, both registered.
Also to all the participants.
Yeah. I will do it.
So apart from that, another condition which is needed is that we need to get this premises registered as a GST premises, like either as a principal or as an additional place of business. We need to show this premises in our GST registration certificate. Now comes the part that once I have enrolled under the scheme and I have fulfilled all these criteria, how there will be actual movement of goods under the scheme. So procurement, there can be three types of movement involved. One is imports. The another is we are transferring goods from one warehouse to another warehouse. And the third scenario can be we are selling the goods in domestic market or we are sending it for exports. So we'll be studying the terms and conditions or the criteria to be fulfilled for all three movements. So for the first, whenever you are importing the goods, once the goods are coming from the customs station to your premises, it will be under one-time lock. Like customs से जब भी container आएगा, वो lock होके आएगा and सीधा आपके premises आके ही offload होगा. After offloading the goods, the quantity of the goods offloaded will be checked with the actual bill of entry. अगर दोनों सेम है तो कोई इश्यू नहीं है. अगर डिस्क्रिपेंसीज है तो कस्टम को डाउट जाएगा कि बीच में किसी ने टेम्पर किया है एंड गुड्स ड्यूटी फ्री होने के चक्कर में समवन हैज थेफ्टेड इट. So if there is any variance, we need to intimate to department within 24 hours. एंड अगर कोई वेरिएंस नहीं है, सब कुछ नॉर्मल है, तो कुछ नहीं करना है, सिंपली मंथली बेसिस में डिपार्टमेंट में एक इंटीमेशन देनी है कि मैंने इतने गुड्स लाए हैं और मेरी फैक्ट्री में इतना बैलेंस पड़ा है, इतना गुड्स कंज्यूम हो गया. So to safeguard the government interest, they have given the concept of one-time lock. The lock cannot be opened in between the journey of the goods. You have to open the lock of the container only when the goods have reached your premises. Now procedure from one warehouse to another warehouse. Again, in this also there is a same procedure. Whenever you are removing goods from one warehouse to another warehouse, you have to give a one-time lock and send those goods. Again, if there is any variance, you need to intimate to government. And procedure for domestic procurement. Like if you are procuring any goods from domestic market, then you have to pay GST and you have to procure same. And in further, if you are using those domestic procured goods for export of goods, you can claim the refund of the GST paid on those domestic procured goods. And if you are selling those finished goods to Indian market, you can claim the input credit of the GST on the raw material which are domestically procured. Now, second part, now there can be another movement in form of removal of goods. So for removal of goods, then can be three types of movement. One is in form of exports. The another is for domestic consumption, you are selling the goods. And the third is you are sending the goods to another warehouse. In the first part, we saw procurement of goods. So that was again three types: imports from warehouse to warehouse and from domestic. Now we are considering the removal of goods. So for exports, we have to file a bill of entry. We can do exports with payment as well as without payment. If you are going with payment of duty, you get the refund once your shipping bill is filed. If you are going for without payment, you have to file a manual refund claim for any GST paid. But yes, in case of exports, you don't need to pay any duty on imported raw material which is used in those exported goods. That get completely saved, both basic custom duty as well as GST and all cess also. Now, again, when you are doing home consumption, you have to file a bill of entry and you have to pay duty of the raw material which is used on those finished goods. And applicable GST is applicable on those finished goods. When you are moving to another warehouse, again, there is a concept of one-time lock. You have to affix one-time lock. You have to keep a record that this many raw material I have sent to another warehouse, and you have to make sure that this raw material are again coming back to your premises. Now, what about the waste generated during the manufacturing process? So, whenever there is any waste generated during the manufacturing process, and if those finished goods are sold in the domestic market, we need to pay GST on those waste generated. Like we have to pay both basic custom duty and GST on the raw material which is involved in those waste. But if I am selling the finished goods outside India, the government is giving waiver of GST and basic custom duty to be paid on those waste goods. So take an example, I have imported 100 raw material and now I am making 90 finished goods from that and 10 are waste. So what government is telling, as you are doing exports, you don't need to pay duty even on those waste goods. Like 90 पे तो पे करना ही नहीं है क्योंकि आपने एक्सपोर्ट किया और जो 10 वेस्ट हुए उस पर भी नहीं करना बिकॉज आप एक्सपोर्ट्स कर रहे हो. Now take a reverse scenario, you are doing it selling in local market. So you are selling 90 items in local market, then you have to pay duty in those 90 items as well as on those 10 items because the 10 item is nothing but the waste. So in the context of waste, duty is applicable only when you're selling the finished goods in local market. If you're selling the finished goods in the outside India, you don't need to pay basic custom duty as well as IGST even on the waste products, waste raw material. Now, as I said that your monthly intimation is to be filed to the government. If you're not filing the monthly intimation, your license get removed and you have to pay entire duty. That is a penal consequences and that too with interest penalty. Now, what are the requirements in terms of documentation? It is custom department, Ankit ji. Applicable customs jurisdiction wherein we fall.
Hello,
Yes.
madam. This scheme is applicable to all type of raw material. No? There is no restriction to any material wise on specific category.
99% raw material are there. Only for certain hazardous raw material, there is one special warehouse scheme. So for special warehouse scheme also, this scheme is introduced, but for that regulation is different.
Okay.
So
And
almost all goods are covered under this scheme. Only certain product like the gold and certain tobacco and all that are considered as a part of special warehouse scheme. But under special warehouse scheme also this scheme has been introduced, but it has certain strict terms. Like it involves the presence of officer. But I think so your product or 99% of product fall under this only what we are discussing.
okay, and we currently get some benefit of product wise in other advanced license. So that benefit we can continue to use. Can we
Yes,
continue?
continue to use. But I think so once you go in this scheme, I think so you will not enjoy. There is no objective of taking advanced license because advanced license का objective भी यही है to save basic custom duty and to
Yeah,
save
yeah, correct.
IGST. So
Yeah.
the purpose gets sufficed.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. So now requirement for maintenance of records. Under this scheme, we need to maintain all the records in Annexure B. So what you can do, you in the website of this scheme, there is one Annexure B which has a detailed format of all the inward and outward which should be maintained. Like what I can request to Tally company, if the schemes become popular, they can integrate this inward outward register in Tally itself. So that like currently for GST return, we are typing display account, like we get entire GST return from Tally. After few months, once this scheme become popular, you can incorporate this Annexure B also in the system itself. And this Annexure B only we need to file on monthly basis, like within the 10 days to department. And it has the detail of all the receipt, like whatever raw material which I have imported, storage, operations, and how much raw material is being removed. Like at the end of the session, I will show you the format of Annexure B also. Then we need to keep the copies of all the documents, bill of entry, transport document, form of transfer of goods, shipping bill, and all other documents. Like the scheme requires us to keep the document manually as well as digitally. And it requires us to preserve these documents for the 5 years from the date of removal. And scheme says that you have to preserve these documents even digitally. Like digitally, आपको एक दूसरी जगह पे भी रखना है apart from this place. So scheme is telling that if due to any natural calamity, there is a damage to this premises, there is some other premises also wherein all the records are digitally preserved.
Madam, other activities, what activities will be covered? Other operations?
The other operation includes the packing, repacking, relabeling. Like if you remember in the excise regime, there was a concept of deemed manufacturing.
Yeah,
So they
understood.
want to put that deemed manufacturing only under this, like wherein you are repacking,
Change the form of the original form of the
right,
goods.
change on
Yeah.
the form.
And this is not for trading, not any scope in this scheme, no?
For trading, there is no scope.
No scope. Okay. Okay, thank you.
So अभी तक till now we have seen all the advantage part, all the requirement part, and the criteria. Now I would like to explain you certain disadvantage also, because whenever we are taking any decision, we need to have the two sides of the coin. Like what are the risky factors also, and what are the advantage factor. So to summarize, there are certain drawbacks of the scheme. First is your service operation and trading operations are not allowed. The scheme is only for other operation and manufacturing. So अगर कोई बंदा सर्विस दे रहा है या ट्रेडिंग कर रहा है उसको कोई बेनिफिट नहीं है. The scheme requires a detailed digital record to be maintained. So अगर आप Annexure B देखोगे तो you will feel that you need to have a proper accounts team. तो ही ये maintain हो पाएगा. Otherwise, it is not a job of one person. The scheme doesn't support the domestic market because take a scenario, a person want to sell 100% goods in Indian market and he want to buy a machinery say of 100 crore. So अगर वो इंडिया से वो 100 करोड़ की मशीन बाय करेगा तो उसको कंपलसरी 28 करोड़ की ड्यूटी पे करनी है क्योंकि वो इंडियन प्रोक्योरमेंट है. बट अगर वो इंपोर्ट कर रहा है तो उसको ये स्कीम का बेनिफिट मिल रहा है, उसका 28 करोड़ सेव हो जाएगा. The scheme is somewhere telling that if you want to buy a capital goods, buy from outside India and not from India. So it is a certain drawback. Rather, government will soon come up with an amendment wherein they will say that even for domestic procurement, you can get the benefit of the duty saved on capital goods. The scheme doesn't have any fiscal benefits. That means the scheme doesn't have any income tax benefit. The scheme doesn't allow duty drawback. तो इस स्कीम में अगर आप एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हो तो आपको ड्यूटी ड्रॉबैक नहीं मिलेगा बिकॉज प्रीमाइसेस इज डीम्ड टू बी कंसीडर्ड आउटसाइड इंडिया. So in case on exports you are getting a good amount of duty drawback, this scheme is not advisable for you. You need to calculate the amount of duty drawback with the amount of duty saved. Audit of the entities, like on the risk basis, government may select certain entities for the audit. So at the time of audit, you need to give complete documentation, proper records, and it can be a tedious process. So government can anytime visit your premises and check all the records. So looking to the advantage part, that these are not major advantage, but yes, we need to keep in mind that we can be anytime the audit can come. So we need to be very well in the documentation. We need to maintain the complete digital record. There is no income tax benefit. There is no duty drawback benefit. Service operations and trading is not allowed. Only manufacturing is allowed. Now, if I compare this scheme with the other scheme, the scheme with if I compare with advance authorization, it is allowed only for raw material. If I compare with SEZ, you need to move to that premises. If I compare with EPCG is restricted only to capital goods, raw material nahi aate. Or EOU is again similar to SEZ. Then need to have a license. तो यस ऑथराइजेशन में लाइसेंस चाहिए. एसईजेड में आपको एसईजेड रजिस्ट्रेशन चाहिए, बट बॉन्डेड में आपको कोई स्पेशली रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं चाहिए. आपने अप्लाई कर दिया, देन इट इज डन. Validity of the license, advance authorization is for 12 months, SEZ is for 5 years or 10 years, EOU is for 5 years, EPCG 2 साल के लिए. But bonded manufacturing warehouse, once applied, it is for lifetime. Like once you are applied as a bonded manufacturing warehouse, you don't need to renew it. It is for lifetime. सायन नॉर्म्स एडवांस ऑथराइजेशन में कंपलसरी फॉलो करने पड़ते हैं. एसईजेड में नहीं है, ईपीसीजी में नहीं है. और बॉन्डेड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में गवर्नमेंट हैज गिवन यू एज अ राइट टू डिफाइन योर ओन SAN. Like we can define our own standard input norms. Whereas in advanced authorization, we need to compulsory take the SIAN from the list of government. Here we can have our own SIAN. Eligibility criteria, advanced authorization has specific rules. SEZ में आपको वहाँ जाना पड़ता है. You should have that value of land and that area of land. EPCG में आपको इतना export obligation करना पड़ता है, like 6 times of the duty saved in 6 years we need to export. Whereas in EOU also we need to have this much plant and machine and all that. But bonded manufacturing में ऐसी कोई requirement नहीं है. You can convert your existing premises into bonded manufacturing warehouse. So that is a big advantage. ज़्यादा requirement नहीं है, simply अभी की premises को convert कर सकते हैं. Now, if I see the export obligation, under the advanced authorization, we need to have a minimum 15% of value addition. Whereas in SEZ also हमें positive NFE चाहिए, foreign positive net foreign exchange earning. Same way EPCG में 6 times of the duty saved करना पड़ता है, and EOU में भी same thing है. But bonded warehouse में ऐसा नहीं है. Like in bonded warehouse, there is no export obligation. Even if I have 0 rupees of export, I am eligible for bonded warehouse scheme. But दूसरे जो भी export incentive schemes है, each scheme want us to be exporter. But this scheme doesn't mandate to do exports. Like in advanced authorization, we need to have a 15% value addition. SEZ में भी positive NFE चाहिए. EPCG में भी 6 times of the duty saved within 6 years. यहाँ कोई time period भी नहीं है और कोई obligation भी नहीं है. At 0.
एडवांस ऑथराइजेशन में सम मटेरियल के लिए कुछ रहता है, तो हियर इज कवर ऑल टाइप ऑफ इंपोर्ट्स मटेरियल ना?
Yes, all types of import material are covered. So now the last advantage of the comparison with other scheme is value on which import duty is payable. So friends, as I said that जब भी हम कोई फिनिश गुड्स को बॉन्डेड वेयरहाउस से क्लियर करेंगे, वो फिनिश गुड्स के अंदर जितने इंपोर्टेड रॉ मटेरियल यूज हुए होंगे, वो इंपोर्टेड रॉ मटेरियल की ड्यूटी और आईजीएसटी मुझे उस टाइम पे करनी है. सो इफ आई कंपेयर दिस एसईजेड, बहुत ह्यूज डिफरेंस आता है. मैं एक एग्जांपल लेती हूँ. मान लो आई हैव इंपोर्टेड 100 रुपीज ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल इन एसईजेड एंड 100 रुपीज ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल इन बॉन्डेड वेयरहाउस, एंड उस पे मान लो बेसिक कस्टम ड्यूटी थी 10 रुपए एंड आईजीएसटी था 18 रुपए. सो बेसिकली 28 रुपीज की ड्यूटी इन्वॉल्व थी. मान लो वो 100 रुपी ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल पे मैंने प्रोसेस किया, सब कुछ एक्टिविटी की, दूसरे मिक्स किए रॉ मटेरियल और सब मिला के मैंने 300 रुपए का फिनिश गुड्स बनाया. अब वो 300 रुपए का फिनिश गुड्स मैं एसईजेड से इंडियन मार्केट में सेल करती हूँ. So what is the concept in SEZ that whenever any finished goods is sold from SEZ to Indian market, we need to pay duty on the selling price of that product. So मुझे 300 रुपए पे ड्यूटी पे करनी है जब मैं SEZ से DTA में पे करती हूँ. और मैं अगर बॉन्डेड वेयरहाउस से वो 300 रुपए की आइटम सेल करती हूँ तो मुझे सिर्फ 28 रुपए की ड्यूटी की पे करनी है. बिकॉज इन बॉन्डेड वेयरहाउस ड्यूटी इज पेएबल ओनली ऑन इंपोर्टेड वैल्यू ऑफ इंपोर्ट्स यूज्ड इन दैट डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट. सो बॉन्डेड में वो पे है 28 रुपए का और एसईजेड में वो पे हो जाएगा 300 का 18%. So that is almost 60 rupees. So you can get an idea that in SEZ we have to pay duty on value of finished goods, whereas in bonded warehouse we have to pay duty on the imported value of raw material which is used in that finished goods. So if you have any entity in SEZ and they are having a huge domestic sales, you can think about this scheme.
Hello.
Yes.
हाँ मैम, in advanced license sometimes we use the raw material for specifically export only. In this scheme there is no restriction to use of the raw material for making a domestic product or export product. We can use anywhere.
So advanced license is having limitation that it is only allowed to exporter, but here you can use it even for domestic. So it is a advantage if you are having both domestic as well as exports.
So there is no need to maintain a record out of which we product make domestic or exports. Okay.
You have to maintain record that this much portion is used in finished goods sold locally and this much portion is used in finished goods sold outside India. So that you have to maintain. But only thing is that the only advantage is that you can use the scheme even for domestic market.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You all can see Annexure B. One PDF is visible?
Yes, Sonalji, it is visible. Form to be maintained by a unit operating under section 65.
Right. So this is basically the form which I was telling that this document we need to prepare on monthly basis, and I would say if Tally can help us to maintain this record, this need to be maintained physically as well as digitally. So if you see, it has a record of all receipts import like bill of entry, custom station, detail of bond, detail of insurance, description of goods, means of transport, one-time lock number, date, receipt from DTA, then processing, like how many goods are sent for operation, removal for job work, return of unit after job work, resultant product like clearance for exports, clearance for home consumption. It says duty involved and it says duty paid, because in exports they want just figure कि आपने इतनी duty save की है, and in home consumption they want us to pay that. So they are telling that how much duty you have paid, like it says warehouse goods contained in so much of resultant product, like कितने goods उसमें use थे और उसकी आपने कितनी duty pay की. Then imported goods cleared as such. If you are clearing as such, then what are the consequences? Treatment of waste or refuse arising of that, and treatment of home consumption ऊपर वाला export का था. This Annexure C is the bond format जो आपको maintain करना है, and this is Annexure A application form जो online fill करना है. Annexure A has all basic details: name, PAN, GST and IC, constitution, address, bank details, then location of the premises, boundary lines, north, south, east, west, and license, AU registration if you are having floor area, number of stories, and proposed goods to be imported. You have to give the detail. These are the proposed goods to be imported to be domestically procured, intermediate goods, final product, and proposed standard input output norms for same. Security facility which we should have, like they will ask us to fill whether you're having alarm system, CCTV system, security system, fire security, and this is a declaration that the business entity is incorporated in India or not, whether you are declared insolvent anytime or not. If it is insolvent, the scheme is not eligible, whether you are convicted of any offense or not, bankruptcy declared under the scheme or like that. Then I will declare to maintain the receipt and removal of goods in digital format, execute the bond, inform the input-output norms, comply with such terms and conditions. So this is basically the forms which are to be maintained. Now again moving to the presentation part.
Sonalji, we have 5 minutes in schedule.
So yes, the scheme is helpful and can be helpful to various manufacturers who are dependent on huge imports. You can have a proposal of converting your existing premises. In the long run, this scheme will help and make India as a manufacturing hub. We can have an optimum cost benefit by comparing our statistics, and we can help our client to give a proper report wherein we can calculate the tentative amount of benefit which he can gain from the scheme. The one of the point to be pondered that yes, when you are selling the capital goods, you don't get the benefit of depreciation. लाइक मैंने आज कैपिटल गुड्स इंपोर्ट किया और 20 साल के बाद मैं सेल कर रही हूँ, तो मुझे उसकी परचेस प्राइस पे ही ड्यूटी पे करनी है. Only if I am exporting that capital goods, I don't need to pay duty. So the scheme is advantageous when you are not required to sell capital goods. अगर आप बेचते ही नहीं हो capital goods तो कोई इश्यू नहीं है, बट अगर आप 20 साल बाद capital goods बेच रहे हो तो आपको उतनी की उतनी ड्यूटी 20 साल बाद पे करनी है. एंड ट्रैकिंग ऑफ इम्पोर्टेड गुड्स इन द फिनिश्ड गुड्स, आपको बहुत प्रॉपर रिकॉर्ड्स मेंटेन रखना पड़ेगा. द स्कीम doesn't support the duty drawback and requirement of physical records as well as filing the monthly return. It is a tedious task. We can help our clients in making a cost benefit analysis, in assisting them and in supporting them to file this application. We can have a hands-on training also, and we can assist them in doing the periodic monthly compliances. So this is about all about Mondin Manufacturing Warehouse, and a small request to Janak ji to integrate the Annexure B in Tally itself once this scheme become popular and can be have
Yes,
a
sir.
mass usage.
Yes, Sonal ji, in fact, very well noted. I'll get in touch with you also after the session for any product related enhancements that we can take up.
Okay.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, we still have 3-4 minutes. We can take a couple of questions if there are any from the participants.
We can take.
Kalpesh ji, Ankit ji, Rupali ji, Swaraj sir, Tushar ji, Vikas Acharya, Ram sir. How did you like the session? If we can have certain inputs from you, was the session helpful?
Very nice and very good and very, very beneficial. So maybe it is. I will explore this session.
Would like to have feedback on this session, sir. Okay.
Yeah. If couple of feedbacks can be given in the chat box, that will really encourage not only the speaker but the Tally fraternity itself, if it is helpful.
Sonalji, it is very beneficial to us, and we will definitely make a contact to you for this scheme to implement to our clients.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tushar ji, for your kind words. So yeah, Sonal ji, shall we close?
Yes, we can close. Thank you, Tally, and thank you, Janak ji, for giving this opportunity. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, all the participants. Ankit ji, Tushar ji, everyone, thank you so much.
So on behalf of the forum and the fraternity, I extend my vote of thanks to Sonal ji. Hope to have you again on this forum very soon. And this time we will try to get you something even more interesting in terms of Tally and everything else. But it was really, really helpful, Sonal ji, to have you on board. Thank you once again. And with that, I will close the session now. Bye, everyone. Bye, Sonal ji.